Hey guys, welcome to the Mystic Therapy Podcast. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about a bunch of different things, but mainly let's just talk about plant teachers and what they are, like who they are, like why they're here to help us. So there's multiple different realms of possibilities that you can look into, but they're all around us at all times. So let's just talk about plant teachers for the most part. So plant teachers, my belief, like you have your own belief, that's cool. Like what I've been taught, what I've been given is every plant essentially has a spirit, and there's smaller spirits, bigger spirits. We call them mothers or the teachers, whatever you want to call them, but every plant has a teacher. Like every plant has some kind of spirit that they give you, some kind of energy. And whenever you consume a plant, that plant gets transformed, transmuted into an energy, and that energy is basically that spirit. So whenever you consume whatever, like a carrot, a cucumber, kale, like just name it. You can name any type of plant, and then there's a spirit behind it. There's a teacher behind it. Like in science, we call them like nutrients and all these different things, but there's an ethereal, like a metaphysical, like reality behind everything. And for plants, like there's that spirit behind it. So whenever you consume it, yeah, it changes you and it gives you vitamins and it goes, oh man, this feels great. This like apple gave me some sugar and gave me some energy, but that energy is actually the spirit of that apple going into your body. And most people aren't aware of this, and most people are just consume things and go, oh, this is just food, this is just calories, this is energy. And if even if you do consume it as energy, then you need to be like very aware that energy is actually a spirit. And whenever you think about things like that, then it changes the way that you consume things and how you put things into your body. And whenever you put things into your body that are of a lower frequency, like aren't really food or manufactured in a lab or in a facility, like if it came out of a big ass like packing facility, chances are like you're not going to want to put that in your body. If it's like processed and like it's made to like sit on a shelf for 2 or 3 years, like you shouldn't really put that in your body because all those different like chemical makeup of that, all those different spirits have been chopped down, conjuncted, like, and it's been like how can I put it the right way? So when you eat processed food, like all those spirits are being stripped, and then all these different oils and all these different sugars and blah blah blah, whatever you want to put in. Look into the back of your label, and you can see all the different like chopped up spirits that you see. So when you see those things, you know from the get go that those spirits have been treated awfully. They've been treated in a mass produced way. They've been processed. They've been chopped up. And like even from the very beginning, those spirits are going to enter in your body and be like, yo, man, I just went through hell. Like I just been flip flopped, chopped up, gone through the ringer. And so like those spirits, like those processed spirits, like they're not going to be as good for you, or good for you basically as like a plant, because that's straight from the source. Or even how meat, like whenever you consume meat, you are consuming dead flesh. But if you bless that flesh and you know where that spirit came from and that energy came from, if it's not some grain fed, just fattened up in a slaughterhouse like meat, like an animal, then you're gonna know that. You're gonna be like, okay, like I ate this grass fed, like this animal had a really good life, like it was out in the countryside, like just grazing on grass. And then you're gonna consume that and you're gonna feel that good energy. Even though it is death and it was slaughtered for you to have their energy, you just need to flip that perspective and be like, okay, like that energy is gonna flow into me. But then let's get back to the topic. So the plant teachers. So like there are different plant teachers in all plants, and like there are some really intense ones that we call psychedelics. There are medicinal ones that are like mushrooms and like herbs, and like you can make them into tinctures, and like those are just really concentrated spirits, aka why you call alcohol spirits is because you really concentrate that corn or that grain. But those spirits aren't healing spirits, honestly. Like, they're like, I don't want to get too far into detail of like the negative side of things, but I just don't consume that kind of spirits. Like, I stay away from them. But the spirits that I consume are the ones that will lift your body, like that will lift your soul, that will make you feel connected with Gaia and make you feel like you're one with the whole. And those are like, psilocybin, like the like different roots and like ayahuasca and DMT, like those active ingredients. Like, that's why they are becoming so popular, because we are in this spiritual crisis right now where people are lost, and so many people are trying to do things one way but then realize that the spirit wants them to go another way, and we're just like lost in this like rat race of doing like 9 to 5 jobs and working for big corporations. And so these teachers are coming like more force and like more now than ever. Like, all these teachers are literally coming into your subconscious and just telling you, hey man, like, your friend has some mushrooms, you should go have that trip and experience this oneness. And so like there's all these different things that happen that are divinely like structured and like set into place. And like right now on this like planet, like I believe like through all this hardship and all these like big corporations starting to crumble, like those are the teachers doing all their magic in the background. And whenever you consume these teachers, they enter into your body, they enter into your auric field, your energetic field, and they're there with you. Like, they're just like your best friend, like your brother, like your sister, whatever you want to call it. Like, you consume this plant and then it transforms into energy. You unlock that spirit is now with you, and that spirit is giving you information. That spirit is just giving you downloads, is throwing like different like information into your auric field. Even if you're not fully aware of what's going on in the moment, even if you're like fighting it and you don't know what's going on and you're like, what's happening, like this can't be real, I'm hallucinating, like blah blah blah, you're just tapping into the spirit world. And those big mothers, those plant teachers, they open your mind up to the spirit world. Like, the spirit is all around you. Your imagination, your consciousness is coming from the spirit. And with all things, you need to be fully aware. Like, when you consume a mother, when you consume a teacher, they will teach you what you need to be taught in that moment. And they will always leave little imprints on you, and like all these little downloads for like later epiphanies. They will leave them on you, and they'll leave you like in you, like they'll be a part of you, they're entangled with you. Like, once you consume that spirit is with you for the rest of your life, your eternal life, your whatever you want to call it, like your reincarnations, your incarnations, like whenever you incarnated here, if you've taken a spirit before in a previous life or in a previous life form, like they're with you, like they're there, like there's no getting away from them. And like whenever you run from those, like you can't run from those, honestly. Like, whenever you try to run from it, like especially like when you're like consume them and you're trying to fight, like fighting and trying to run from it like isn't going to help, because they're always there. Like, they're like, oh, this is what you planned, this is predestined, like you need to just go with the flow and relax. Like, I am just rambling a little bit, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get back to my point. So the plant teachers, so everything has a teacher, and everything has a spirit. Everything that you consume gets transformed into energy. The energy is then a spirit that is live and active inside of you. So whenever you consume, let's say, psilocybin. So I've had psilocybin trips. I've met the teacher, like I've been connected with the teacher for a long time, and that energy is always with you. And so when you first consume it, like you just feel like there's something opening and awakening inside of you. That's why people call it a spiritual awakening whenever you have these type of like psychedelics and these different like entheogens. So whenever you consume those, like you open up to everything. Psychedelic means mind opening, psychedelic, mind opening. So whenever you consume these, it unlocks something inside your brain, and inside your brain there's the universe. The universe is within inside you. The kingdom of heaven is within inside you. Like, that's what all the scriptures say. Like, It's very true. Like, it's inside you. So whenever you take these, then you unlock something in your brain. You relax. You sit there. You don't try to run around and go to festivals. Like, you can, like, that's something that's a whole nother section of this. But like, for me, it's an internal thing. You take the mushroom, you go inward, and then you learn things that are external. You fix things, you heal things. And so these teachers are there just to basically be like, hey man, like, are you ready just to sit down? Are you ready to go into the classroom? Like, you can be in the classroom but then not be aware of the teacher. So like, one thing that I've learned is, like, if you're in a classroom and you're hanging out in the back with your friends and you're just chilling and you're having a good time and you're laughing, and like, you're not really paying attention to that teacher, like, the teacher is still talking the whole time. Like, whether or not you like perceive it and you hear it and you're like, oh, like, you're consciously like tuned into that teacher is still talking, and your subconscious is still absorbing all that information. Even though it's not in the forefront of everything, it's still there. So when you're in the back hanging out with all your friends, just relaxing, like chilling, like goofing off, like, the whole time you're thinking like, oh, like, I'm focused on this, but the teacher is still there. So that's how I relate, like, being in like a trip when you're at a festival or something. Like, the teacher's there, but you're trying to have a good time, blah blah blah, but the teacher's going to be there. So back to the analogy of being in a classroom. So when you're in the classroom and you're sitting there and the teacher's is talking, 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 and you're like, oh man, like, when are you going to stop talking? Like, I can't consume all this, like, stop. And then all of a sudden, like, the teacher's like, oh, like, let's have a break, like, time to relax. Like, I know I've been giving you a lot of information. So that's how mushrooms are. Like, you can only, like, receive what you can receive at that moment. Like, they'll teach you what they need to teach you in that moment. So when you're like in the classroom, the teacher's talking, the mushroom spirits with you, like, they're teaching you things, they're opening your mind to things. When you're ready, they'll start showing you things. So you'll just get those little epiphanies and stuff, like, oh man, like, what is going on? Like, how is this happening? Like, but then you're being taught. So like, there's a spirit, and like, that spirit is literally a very powerful being, and like, it's teaching you all these different things that need to be taught in that moment. And there's spirits in everything, there's teachers in everything, and like, but then some are just stronger, and those are the mothers, those are the main spirits that are here to actually like help you and help us and help everyone around us just like open up their mind and like be more spiritual and connect with the spirit around us. So the analogy of being in the classroom, so when you're in the back just hanging out with your friends and the teacher's still talking, like, your subconscious, like, whenever you're consuming this, like, this plant, like, you're consuming something that's going to change your perception. And like, whether or not you're in the classroom like focusing on the teacher, you're still in that classroom, and you can try to leave the classroom, but that teacher's going to be like, no, you better sit your ass back down. And some teachers are a lot stronger at that. Some teachers will knock you down and you will not be able to move for hours, or you may not be able to move for a little while, but it feels like infinite amount of time, because time doesn't exist. It's a creation that's been like created for this 9 to 5 like workforce type thing that's going on around us. But that's a whole nother thing. So like, whenever you're there, like, you're living in the moment and you realize like, oh man, like, this moment, this classroom, this teacher, it feels like an infinity, but it's very short. It's very, this, until that leaves your blood system, until it leaves your bloodstream, until that spirit goes, okay, like, you've learned all you can learn today. Like, come back whenever you're ready. It can be next week. It could be next year. It could be 10 years from now. You may never want to come back to me. It just depends on what you learned, like how your experience was, all the setting. Like, make sure that you're in a good set and setting, like, especially if you're going to go and communicate with the teacher when it's one-on-one. Like, if you're going into like a meeting with the teacher one-on-one, like, make sure like there's not a whole classroom full of people like around you trying to be rowdy and rambunctious and trying to like talk to you and have fun and be like, oh hey, come over here, and like, let's ignore the teacher and blah blah blah. Like, make sure that you're having that one-on-one session with that teacher. That teacher is there for a reason, and that teacher is here to like help you for a reason. Whether it's healing, addiction, like, whether you just want to explore your consciousness, expand your consciousness, like whatever the purpose is, there is a purpose, and you've already been predestined to achieve that purpose. So whenever you're in the classroom, hanging out with your friends in the back, so the teacher's talking up front, you don't really perceive the teacher. The teacher's just there in the background, just talking. But like that's the same thing with mushrooms, so or any other type of psychedelic. Like whenever you consume those, you may be watching TV, listening to music, trying to avoid everything, like trying to block out all the different things, and you're trying to have a good time. But that teacher is there subconsciously just giving you imprints on your auric field, into your consciousness, into your mind. Like all those different imprints will come at a further date. So like they're just there like a little snack, a little like, oh, here's a little Hershey's Kiss, I'm gonna throw it right there. And like whenever you come back to your jacket a month later, you're gonna find that little Hershey's Kiss, and you're gonna be like, damn dog, there's a Hershey's Kiss. Or like, even that chocolate's probably gonna melt, but like if it's like $1, like say that you put $1 in your pocket, and a year later you find that dollar, and you're like, oh man, I found $1, that's awesome. Like those are the same as the imprints that the teachers give you. So like they'll throw like $1 in your pocket, and you may not realize it's there, but then whenever you're at a later date, you'll have an epiphany, and you're like, oh man, awesome, I found this dollar. But it's like that dollar has always been with you, but they just like subtly like just put it into like your auric field, put it into your mind. Like it's subconscious. Like whenever you're there, like fully engulfed in that teacher, like that's when you get everything, you learn everything, and it's hard to bring everything back, especially if you have those like OBEs and like those really transcendent like experiences. Because whenever you go into those realms, like you got to realize like we're a third dimensional being, like we're multi-dimensional beings, but in this like reality, in this incarnation, we're three-dimensional, and that's the reality around us. And you just have to realize like whenever you start elevating those dimensions, it's harder to bring stuff back when you go up to those really high dimensions. Like when you're going to those top tier like dimensions and heavens, like, and you're like being like one with the universe, and you're in the cosmic consciousness, and you're like, whoa, like what's going on? I just feel like one with everything, and I'm this infinite creator. Like whenever you come back into this reality, like it's like, how can I explain this to people? How can I talk to people about this? Like, and it's that's why like psychedelics and stuff have been so like under the radar, because how are you going to have those transcendent experiences and then not talk about them? Especially with like religions and stuff, how people can talk about one transcendent experience through like a certain religion, but then some people completely dismiss religious experiences. But it's a spiritual experience. It's not a religious experience, because religion is just trying to teach you how to connect with the spirit. So no matter what religion you are, you're just connecting with those different spirits and those different energies. And so like the teachers that are in the plants, like that's the thing that you need to understand, is like whenever you consume anything, there's a teacher and there's an experience behind that. And like your body gets beautifully made to like transmute energy, to go in, consume energy. Like our bodies consume energy so we can create. So we consume so that we can create, because we are these infinite creators, and that's why our bodies are so wonderfully designed, especially for everything around us. And whenever you put junk into your body, that's what it's going to turn into. Like your body is constantly regenerating cells and creating new cells, and you have a trillion different life forms on your body, inside your body. Like you are just trillions of different individually small life forms, and you are basically the universe, and you are the universe for all intents and purposes. Like whenever you have like that perception of, oh, there's a trillion living bacteria inside my stomach right now, like that's a trillion life forms. Like that's more than the billion people that live on this earth, right? Like whenever you think about all the animals, all the plants, like there's trillions of those life forms. So literally like your stomach is like a terrarium of bacteria. So whenever you go into those different mindsets and like you open up to these teachers, they teach you these things. They go, hey, like if you just sat down and you relax, like you can understand all these different like all these different things that we need to teach you and that you can be taught, and like you just forgot whenever you got reincarnated into this body, because this is a temporary experience of the divine. Like you're living this small infinite fractal of a life that is connected to everyone. Like, we're all connected. Like, the universe is connected. That's the universe. One song, the verse. So we're all living this one song, this one harmony, this one frequency. And like, there's different levels of frequencies that either you're in tune with the universe or you're out of tune, but you're still a frequency. You're still an energy. You're still a divine being. Like, you're still multidimensional. Like, you're still trying to figure those things out. Like, whenever you're in this third dimensional reality, it's hard to like get out of it, especially if you're eating bad, like processed spirits and stuff. If you're drinking those hard, like harsh corn spirits, like those are really grounding spirits that will keep you grounded, that will poison your body, that will make you think more and more like a third dimensional being. And it's hard for anyone really to get out of that mindset if they've been stuck in that mindset, if they've been addicted to those spirits. Like, those spirits will latch onto you, especially those lower quality spirits. Like, they will latch onto you. That's what addictions and stuff are. Like, those addictions are just the lower bodied spirits, like, that are just embedded in your auric field, and like, they won't let go. Like, they're just like, hey, you enjoy me. Like, we're best friends, right? Like, we're best friends, we're buddies. Like, you're my brother now. Like, hang out with me. Like, you want to drink, hang out with me. Like, hey man, like, I'm talking to you right now, but you're not listening. You should have a drink, and then that way we can be connected again. And that's what happens whenever you consume those spirits. Like, you're like, hey man, like, do you want to have a drink tonight? And like, that's not really like what you want to do. It's just that spirit that's attached to you going like, hey man, you should have a drink. Ask this person out to have a drink. And you go out and have a drink, and then that one drink turns into like 5 to 10 drinks. Or if you black out and like, you just, the next day you feel like crap because you're hungover, it's because you have brain damage. Like, you've poisoned yourself to the point where your brain and your body isn't functioning anymore. And you just have to be fully aware of those spirits. There's those spirits out there that aren't really here for your greater good. Like, when you take a sip or something and it lowers your ambitions, like, you may think like, oh yeah, I'm more social whenever I have the spirit inside me, but in the long run, like, that spirit isn't there for your greater good. That spirit is just there to like, to hold on to you, to make you like addicted to this thing. Like, even those like processed spirits, like the really hardcore spirits that, like opium and stuff like that, like, at one point in time, like, those were very genuine, like, spirits for healing. Like, they would drop you into a really sedative state. You would be able to heal yourself. You'd come back out of that sedated state. But now it's being processed, it's being cut, it's being chopped with all these different other chemicals and all these different other spirits. And that's like one spiritual like cocktail that will just lock onto you and make you addicted. Like, whenever you go into those different spirits, like, you're like, man, like, I should just be doing this all the time. Like, that spirit's like telling you like, hey man, like, you want to hang out with me all the time. It feels so good, right? Like, that's that instant gratification of this body. Like, your body's like instantly like, oh man, I feel so much better. Like, I was just in pain. But if you're not in pain, if you're not feeling, you're not healing. And so if you're in pain, that means that there's something that you need to heal, and there's something that you need to work on. So like, those instant gratifications, especially those really hardcore like spirits, like, they'll attach onto you, and they will not let you go unless you're there like mentally, and like, unless your spirit becomes stronger and you can overtake that spirit and be like, no, not today. Like, those spirits are like those lower energy, like, whatever they want to call them, demonic spirits. Like, there's like the angelic spirits, the demonic spirits, but they're all just spirits. Like, there's no like good and evil. They're just there just to take over. Like, they just want to be like, oh man, like, I'm not in this three-dimensional realm, but if I take over your body, then bam, look at that, I'm in a three-dimensional realm. Like, I'm in the ethereal and I'm in the spiritual realm, but now I'm a part of your realm. Like, I can control you. Like, I can interact with your body. Like, you're being possessed by these spirits and oppressed by them spirits. Like, they'll keep you down, and they will make you want to just keep in that lower vibrational state over and over again. But then there's the other side of those teachers, the other type of those spirits that will bring you up, that will lift your spirits, that will bring you into those higher dimensions, those higher spirits. Like, those higher spirits are here for a reason. There's a balance, there's a duality. There's the right and the left. There's the up and the down. There's, the as above, so below. There's everything is connected. It's one being. It's one interdimensional extraterrestrial, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's just one massive like being just having this experience. And that's what some people call the universe, some people call God, like whatever you want to label it. It's just this big infinite creator creating multiple dimensions, multiple beings, higher, lower frequencies, like. And whenever you tap into those spirits, like those teachers will, they can teach you a lot. And so like I've learned a lot from those teachers, and like trying to articulate and trying to like put into words. Like I know I've rambled and I've said so much, and I know it's hard to probably pick up on one thing. If you want me to expand on something, just like drop a comment, like hit me up, like message me, like be like, hey man, like you said this one thing, but you didn't really go into detail about it. Like let me know. Like, cause I am just like off the top of the head, just like rambling. I'm sorry, but this is a good episode, right? Like, you think so? I think so. So like those teachers, like they're there, like they're always there. Like you just have to enter the classroom. You have to be ready and willing to accept those teachers as what they are. They're spirits, like there are beings behind those. Like you consume a mushroom and you just see a mushroom, but when you consume that, I'm looking at a person. Like I'm looking at a being, like a deity, like a spirit. Like whenever I see that mushroom, like I'm not going like, oh, this is a mushroom, I'm popping, I'm gonna have a good time. Like I'm looking at, oh fuck, like this is a classroom. Am I ready to die right now? Am I ready to extend into the next reality? Am I ready to be multidimensional within this moment and explore my consciousness? Am I ready just to sit down and be one with everything? Am I ready to enter those psychedelic states of mind? And you can do these things without consuming those. That's the thing I was trying to say earlier. Like whenever you consume it once, like that teacher, that spirit, whether from lifetimes ago or from this lifetime, like they're there with you. They're in your energetic field. That's why you can transcend through meditation and stuff. When you realize that that power is always inside you, and you don't need some external power to help you like transcend. Like you should realize like at a certain point, like, hey, like I don't need these mushrooms anymore, like because I already have that spirit with me. And if I sit down and I meditate and I think about that spirit's going to be like, oh hey man, like we haven't talked in a while, I'm glad you realize that I'm still here with you, like let me show you some things, boom. And then bam, you don't need that psilocybin in your blood system to be able to access that spirit of the psilocybin. Like you don't need that like DMT like in your body to have that crazy experience. Like you're already making DMT. Like DMT is flowing through your system. Every time you breathe, you're creating DMT. Like this is just one big dream state if you want to get real deep into it. So like the whole entire like existence and life that you're living is just a hallucination. It's just a psychedelic trance state. Like you're just being blocked out from all the different spirits around you that are controlling the things behind the scenes. And like the psychedelics will open up those different like doorways, and like they'll lift that veil and you'll be like, oh man, there's all these different beings around me that are just helping everyone and helping me and helping you. And that's when you lift that veil, and that veil's like, whoa, that's incredible. But going into that meditative state, this being one with the breath, being one with the energy that's around you, that life force energy, that prana, that chi, whatever you want to call it, there's different names for it. But when you breathe in that air, that oxygen, that carbon, that everything that's connected in that like air that we breathe, in that life force energy, like you're breathing in those spirits, those energies. Like every time you breathe, you're breathing in universes and you're expelling and exhaling universes. Like there's trillions of trillions of trillions of atoms and beings, and creating like every time you breathe, like you're just inhaling the universe and then you're exhaling the universe because you're one with it. Like you cannot separate from it. You may be in a delusional state where you think like, oh, I'm just human being and like that's all I am, and like that's what science teaches you. Like, hey man, you're just this fleck of dirt like floating through this infinite space on this ball. But in the long run, that's what they wanted you to fucking believe. They wanted to lower your consciousness. Like that's that third dimensional reality thinking. That's that lower frequency thinking. Like they don't want you to expand your consciousness. Like everything has been designed. The war on drugs has been designed. Like everything here is designed because at one point in time had this transcendent experience, and they were like, oh man, if everyone believed this, if everyone thought this, then we can't control you. Like, we can't control them. Like, so whenever you go into these meditative states, you can enter those psychedelic realms without any of those substances, because you are one with everything. You are one with every single one of those substances. Whether you've had that consuming part and you've experienced it one-on-one, like, it's already inside you. It's already within you, and you can just access those whenever you feel like you want to access those. And whenever you finally get to that point where you can stop consuming the external factors to get to the spirits, like, those spirits will just be like, hey man, like, you're ready, like, you don't need to consume me anymore. And those can be those really intense trips that people call bad trips, or those are things that you haven't really dealt with and like you need to deal with, or like they're just letting you know, like, hey man, like, you're done with us. Like, if you want to communicate with us, like, you don't have to eat this anymore. Like, you can just go into a meditative state and then communicate with us. Like, there are spirits all around you at all times, and you just have to tune into that frequency. It's like picking up a phone. Like, you close your eyes, like, breathe in that like that nice air. Sorry. So you just breathe in that nice air and you just get into that rhythm, that breath work, and then bam, like, you're tuned into a frequency. And then now you're just on that dial tone. That's what people talk about when you enter those different states. You just hear that dial tone that's vibrating. That dial tone is like, hey man, where do you want to go? Who do you want to call? Like, I'm ready to pick up. And whenever you get into that state, that's when it's like, bam, like, okay, I'm going to call the mushrooms. I'm going to call the psilocybin. I'm going to see what's going on over there. And then bam, they take you into that natural state. They take you to the nature spirits, and they let you communicate with the nature spirits. Or you can transcend and be like, all right, I'm going to talk to my ancestors. So then you dial into that frequency, then you call your ancestors. You call the people that are within your DNA. You activate that DNA, and you just activate those spirits. Like I said, there's spirits everywhere. There's spirits all around you. There's spirits within you. It's just whether or not you're fully conscious of it. And so, like, that's basically what I wanted to talk about in this episode. And like I said, like, if you wanted me to expand on something, if you wanted to communicate with me, talk to me about something, I'm here. Like, I'm free. Just hit me up. Just let me, like, hey man, like, you said this one thing about this, but you didn't really expand on it, or this is what I believe in that, and I wanted to talk to you about it and see if I could help you, or you could help me change my perspective on that. Because like I said, we're all just different perspectives of the divine. We're all just different fractals of the divine. And so, like, what information I have may be more or less than what you have, and you may have more information than I do. And you may want to be like, hey man, like, you can come on my podcast and we can communicate and we can have this internal and external dialogue, and be like, hey, you went on this like rambling, and then you forgot to like talk about whatever you're doing. Because like I said, this is just straight from the source, is me talking. Like, I honestly, like, I'm in the moment. Like, I forget what I'm talking about. I forget what I'm saying. That's why it's like I ramble, because I have this like thought, and I'm like, go on this thought, but then I don't really get into detail of the thought, because I'm constantly just thinking about, like, all right, like, how can I expand on this thought? And being in the moment, it's like being really fucking high, like, it's being like in a whole different dimension. And so, like, that's basically like all for this episode. So thanks for listening, thanks for tuning in. Like, hit me up, like, message me, comment me, like, subscribe, like let me know anything that you want to know. Like, hit me up. Like, thanks for listening. Until next time, peace and love. Namaste, my friends.